How you doing? You want to call you Judge? I bet they still call you that, right? Like you earned it. You can sit over there any place you want.
Oh, okay.
I think we can go on the side here. The witness will be sitting here, so I think it might be best. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's fine.
What do we got? Anywhere?
When you call, you guys are going to be sitting here.
Governor's not coming in today.
Yeah, I'll take a pass.
Let me see if we go over next to Kate. So Deb can sit there just because you're in there. Rob won't mind making a grand entrance. So.
I don't know if they told you where to sit.
Yeah, no, they did.
You're in the hot seat, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm lucky we have 5 here, I don't know.
How'd you make out in Watertown? Okay?
You know what happened? I got up this morning, I didn't want to be late, I didn't know what the roads would be, so I put my makeup in a bag, and I says, I'll put it on the State House. You ever did this before? I left it home. So this is how I look in the morning. No makeup. Well, you saw me the other day, no makeup. This is embarrassing. Embarrassing.
We're going to stop the hearing. I spoke to Councilor Duff, she just called me, she's across the street. Councilor Kennedy's in court for Hilton coming soon. Councilor Rubio in the building. So, it's 10:45, I'm going to call the hearing to order. I'm going to start by reading the letter from the governor to the council. I am pleased to nominate Adam J. Baler to the position of clerk magistrate of the Plymouth District Court. I submitted the nomination for the advice and consent of the Executive Council. Pursuant to Part 2, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I am proposing the nominee's resume for your convenience. So welcome, Mr. Baler, and welcome.
Excuse me, could you say I'm present? You said everybody that's not here. Can you say I'm present?
Oh, I was going to do that. I was going to do it.
Thank you.
Council Devane is the only one here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll allow you to introduce your guests whenever you want to, but maybe we'll wait for the other councils to come.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay with you. So we're going to proceed in the following order. I see you have 3 witnesses.
Yes.
So we'll ask your 3 witnesses to testify, and then after that, we'll hear from you, and then the council will be able to ask you questions after that.
Okay.
So first we're going to start off with the Honorable Robert S. Creedon, Jr. Mr. Creedon, you can stand, sit, whatever you're comfortable with. If you'd like to sit next to the nominee, it's up to you.
I would love to sit next to the lady who was a dear friend of mine.
A dear friend of my cousin Joe's.
That's correct.
That's right.
Yeah, and my brothers and I got a tremendous laugh out of your incredible victory,
Oh, thank you.
which confirmed that money doesn't get you everywhere in politics.
333,000. That's what you spent.
Stunning,
Thank
stunning.
you. Thank
Council
you.
Devane, more votes than any of us, doesn't matter.
Yes, yeah.
And for the public, we're talking about my cousin Joe DiNucci. He was a dear friend of his, state latitude.
Joe was, when I got elected in '69, Joe was a court officer. And Joe was one of the top middleweights in the United States, in the world.
Right.
And of course, I'm from Brockton, a fight town. And Joe was I thought he was one of the best. And you could ask court officers to get you a bill or a coffee or something. I could never ask Joe to do anything for me. I held him in such high regard.
But I hated boxing, they just did.
Oh.
But I have to tell you, I think I want to say it on the record as much as I can. Ray Amaral and my cousin Joe DiNucci started in 1958, I believe, and they were pages. And he's still here, Ray, God bless him. And my cousin became the state auditor from being a page in this building.
And you remind me, my wife and I always send Ray a Christmas card, and it came back, so I got to find out if he's at a new address.
Oh, Oh,
Yeah.
gee, I don't
Great
know.
guy,
Yeah,
great guy.
really, he really is, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry now.
Mr. Green, please. So, are you voting yes?
Yeah, whatever you do, you got my vote.
Floor is yours, sir.
Counselor, for the record, Attorney Robert S. Creedon Jr., presently the clerk for Superior Court in Plymouth County. I'm here today to give testimonial to the nominee who's before you, Adam Baler, for the clerkship in the District Court of Plymouth. We have 4 district courts in Plymouth County: Brockton, Wareham, Hingham, and Plymouth. By way of background, I've been practicing, well, been a lawyer for 50 years, 40 of which I practiced, and mostly in the courts. We did a lot of district court work, and so I'm quite familiar with the operations of the district court, and very familiar with the town of Plymouth, where Adam resides. When I first got elected to the House in '69, that town had a population of about 15,000 people. It now has a population approaching 60,000.
Wow.
This young man grew up in that town, along with his dad, who is with us here today, who is a judge himself, now retired. And I know that you've got the background in the filings, where he went to school, his work record, that sort of thing. What I'd like to do is just fill out the person who Adam Baler is. I've known him since he started as a clerk, and was always someone who was attentive to duty, always somebody who was there as a practicing lawyer when you needed him. And one of the things that always bothered me as an elected official was when someone would come into a courthouse or the registry or some government building and stand at the counter and not be tended to, or called in and no one was answering the phone. That'd be the opposite of this young man. And again, I first knew him as a lawyer. Later, when my predecessor, late Frank Powers, passed on and I ran for the position, he was one of my clerks then. And then when I lost my first assistant through retirement, Adam became my first assistant. And so I've observed him in all those positions. And I have to say, and this isn't recorded, I guess, but Plymouth District Court needs, oh, it is. Well, the Plymouth District Court needs a knowledgeable individual, and an individual who has a reputation with people skills. A, he has those skills with the public, for whom we all work. B, he always got along with his fellow workers. And finally, his most difficult job as the first assistant. You see, the clerk of courts, my position, the people in Boston always referred to this as the velvet coffin. It's unlike the district court clerk, who we refer to as the working clerk. So he had to run the operation, deal with personnel, deal with judges. And I dare say, in his 23 years, if I could interview every single Superior Court judge for whom Adam worked, they would all endorse him, all the way up to Frank Gaziano, who is now on the Supreme Judicial Court. So his people skills fit this circumstance. I've been around when I think Clara Union was the clerk down there, but it's had some rocky times, and it needs a firm, informed, well-adjusted individual to right the ship, so to speak. And this is your candidate to my right here. The only loser in all this is me, because I'm losing a guy who's been a terrific first assistant. And in the business that I'm in, the Superior Court, your first assistant is invaluable. So I'm here to answer any questions regarding Adam, whether it's academic or whether it's job performance or his personality. He's aces in all regards.
Well, if you really don't want to lose him, we can take care of that today. Councilor Levine.
What, if you could give me 1 or 2 adjectives to describe this nominee for this position?
Well, he's because it's a people job, he's extremely personable. That would be one. And then he's in terms of relating to employees, because he's been one in this system for 23 years, very knowledgeable too. Yeah. And a credit to the governor, we can't forget him, and his staff for nominating you.
Well, I meet with all the nominees, and when we met, I told him, and I meant it, I think the clerk magistrate is the most important person in court, because that's the face of the court, that's the person you're going to see. Most people are afraid when they go before that person, and it means a lot if you can smile, have empathy. And I was explaining when we met that I said, people think we have such authority here, and we don't. We only have one person before us, and we don't know who is in the pool. Well, let me tell you, I'm very investigative, and I do find out. And in past years, we had someone, and these two counselors weren't on at the time, so they weren't here. And this fellow was appointed to the Berkshire Court. I looked into it, and I found out that there was a man that worked 32 years in that court. He was the acting clerk magistrate, 4 years, and he had before 2 years in the past. And he applied and was rejected. 32 years he worked in the court. I never talked to him. I talked to everybody around him, and they all thought he was great. And, you know, he was just a great guy to work with, and he knew every aspect of the court. So anyway, the fellow that was before us to vote on was a state representative, never was in a courthouse in his life, and he didn't even tell the speaker that he applied. And he ran for office. It was in January. He ran in office and applied for this. Can you imagine? So he got it. I voted no. I was the only one, because I just couldn't imagine this man getting up in the morning that has been doing the job and training this young, who happened to be 32. Isn't that interesting? He worked 32 years in the court. This fellow was 32. And he was going to train him to be his boss. And I thought, how do you get up in the morning and go to work and under those circumstances? And I can remember at his hearing, like it was yesterday, and I said to him, why do you think you're more qualified than the person who is now the acting clerk magistrate? And I love this. I'm a quick learner. I'm a people person. And so, you know, that was it. But they had to have a special election, you know, because it was the beginning of the term. So I look at that, and I have a philosophy that if you work at Dunkin' Donuts and the manager leaves and you're the assistant and you've really done a great job, you should be appointed for that job. You should get that job. They shouldn't get someone from outside. And that's my philosophy. And I like to see someone with experience in the court. And it's too bad, but sometimes political people jump the line. And I just want to say that publicly, because people think, oh, we have all these names in front of us and we choose. No, we don't. And so that's what it is. But I'll tell you, having you come today, I don't remember you ever coming before. Have you in the past? I don't remember.
I first came here for Judge Edward Stevens in 1969 when I was the youngest rep in the House.
Okay. I wasn't here then.
I think my last trip was several judges who have now retired, because when I was chairman of Judiciary for a dozen years, many of them asked me to speak.
Right.
But the last 10 years I've been the clerk, and we have a very large family. My brothers and I, the five of us, had 19 children. And many of them are in law.
How many children?
19.
No.
So, yeah, my five of us have 19. So some of them are at places like Ropes and Gray and some high-end law jobs. And they've said to us, guys, to me and my four brothers, you had your day in the sun. Would you please, in Italian, state zi, shut up. Let us have our day in the sun. So I've been quiet, but I couldn't be quiet for this guy, because he describes what you just talked about. He's done the job. He hits the ground running. There's no learning curve, period. And of course, I'm here to tell you that he's got the personality too.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a tribute to this nominee for you to come and speak for him, and it's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
You stay well.
All right, you too.
Thank you, Mr. Magistrate.
Just
Councilor
one
Jubenville.
quick question. Plymouth District Court Clerk's Office has always been kind of a troubled place over the years, hasn't it?
Ever since Clara Union, that's a lot of years ago.
And his administrative skills
Absolutely, absolutely, because there's no, as Councilor Devaney said, there's no learning curve. He's done the job.
Yeah.
And with the district court, you need, again, referencing the counselor, the clerk generally, not so much the presiding judge, but the clerk is frequently the face of the court. And he's going to have things like small claim, things that are minuscule, not so important to a lot of us, but show cause hearings, Chapter 90 stuff, small claims. And some of my brothers pull my leg. They refer to one of my younger brothers, who's the clerk in the Brockton District Court, as the working clerk. Because, again, his town has gone to 60,000. That's a very, very busy court. And you need somebody who can keep all those balls in the air. He can do it.
And you've got there's other towns too that can.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you for your service and thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Councilor.
Next we'll hear from Deborah Marshall.
Great to see you. I get it to you.
Welcome, Ms. Marshall.
Good morning, council members.
Good morning.
My name is Deborah Marshall. I'm the head administrative assistant for Plymouth Superior Court. I've known Adam since his first day at the trial court in 1996. Adam learned the daily functions of the clerk's office quickly. In January of 2017, he was appointed first assistant clerk of Plymouth Superior Court. Adam facilitates the day-to-day operations of the court using his strong communication skills and supervisory skills. He uses time management and work assignments and has established a high level of productivity within our office. He communicates daily with staff through meetings, phone calls, and emails, in addition to maintaining frequent contact with judges from many departments, lawyers, district attorneys, self-represented litigants, law enforcement agencies, and administrative office of the trial court. In the time that I've worked with Adam, I have found him to be detail-oriented, attentive to the needs of all, as well as being fair and impartial. He is always receptive to a suggestion. Adam encourages all the staff to improve and take advantage of any trainings that are available to us. He has a very strong work ethic and is a hands-on supervisor. These qualities, along with his knowledge, assist greatly in overcoming the daily challenges that arise. In closing, if confirmed, although our office will have a void to fill, it is my belief that Adam would prove to be an excellent choice as Clerk Magistrate of Plymouth District Court.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the witness? Well, thank you very much.
I was just going to ask, how many years have you been here?
He started in 96 and I started in 95, so 23.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lastly, we're going to hear from Susan Lanning. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Susan Lanning. I'd like to thank the members of the Governor's Council for allowing me to speak a few words on behalf of Adam Baler. I've been friends with Adam for over 35 years and hold him in the highest esteem. So if I get a bit emotional, you'll understand why. I moved to Massachusetts in the middle of 7th grade, which could have been a very traumatic experience, except I was fortunate to have a young Adam Baler at my bus stop. He introduced me to everyone in the neighborhood, at school, and even secured a seat at the back of the bus for me. Needless to say, we became fast friends. Adam drove me to high school every day until I graduated, the year before he did. A story that exemplifies Adam's character is how, as a high school senior, he phoned my little sister, a shy freshman, and offered to drive her to school that year in my absence. That was so huge for her, and I can tell you that it instantly put her on the map at Plymouth North High School that year. She is still grateful to Adam for that simple act of kindness 20 years later. We have experienced together the ups and downs of middle school, high school, college, and real life. He introduced me to my husband, and we were even in each other's weddings. Through it all, we have remained close friends. Obviously, I'm biased towards Adam for these reasons and more. Fast forward I currently work as the firm administrator at a law firm in Hingham. One day I overheard one of my paralegals say, "Oh, don't worry, it's in Plymouth, so Adam Baler will get back to us by the end of the day." While I wasn't terribly surprised, I was gratified to see firsthand that Adam conducts himself in his job just as he does in his personal life, always on an even keel, considerate of others, and impeccable in his word. I've watched this man grow and excel in many new life roles, and each new responsibility he tackles with patience, grace, and integrity, sprinkled with a healthy dose of humor. If you were to approve Adam, I'm certain he will successfully fulfill the role of clerk magistrate and be a credit to the Commonwealth. It's my honor to speak in support of Adam, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All the way back to the bus stop.
Who remembers that one? What law firm do you work for?
Drowan, Tacho, and Morgan.
Is
They're-
Anthony going to be on?
Yes, he is. Yes,
Before you leave, I'll text you in a second.
I do. He texted me a few minutes before we came in.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yep.
Any other questions for the witness?
It was very good, thank you.
I just want to say that's a remarkable friendship. That's wonderful.
It is. I'm so lucky.
No, really, that you don't, that's rare. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Do you have
testimony.
any bad stories?
No,
All right, anyone else here to speak in favor of the nominee? Anyone to speak against the nominee?
There was a long line of security outside.
All right, we're going to close that portion of the hearing for witness testimony. And now, Mr. Baler, we get to hear from you. If you want to start by introducing the guest, please do. I want to introduce Councilor Duff, Councilor Kennedy, Councilor Drew Miller, and then Councilor Levine.
I can certainly introduce them as I give my statement, if that works.
Sure, including your statement, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. Floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. Please just let me begin by correcting an error in my application, my JNC application that was brought to my attention by Councilor Duff a couple days ago. On part 2, question 71, my answer was no. It should have been yes. I am in good health, and I am able to perform the essential functions of the clerk. It could be the nurse.
Let me just say, on our questionnaire,
Yeah, wait till the end of the hearing.
Yes. Yes.
it was correct in ours.
So I would like to thank Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito for the nomination of the clerk magistrate of the Plymouth District Court. I would like to thank Councilor Ferreira for his help and assistance through this process, and I would additionally like to thank all of the members of the Governor's Council for an opportunity to speak and meet with each of you, as well as the opportunity to appear before you today. I would also like to thank Lon Povich, Sharon Casey, Emily Gauthier, and their time and assistance through this process as well. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge those that are here today in support of my nomination. My wife, Kelly, my children, Andrew, Grace, and Kate, and my mother-in-law, Kathy Morris. I would like to thank them for all their love and support for every... I have a special thank you.
The greatest judge that ever said.
No. And I have a special thank you to my father for his guidance and inspiration throughout my entire life. I would not be here today seeking your confirmation, seeking the confirmation without him for everything. Finally, I'd like to thank Rob, Deb, and Sue for being here today and taking their time to speak on my behalf. I personally find it incredibly awkward and humbling to speak about myself, but in spite of that, please allow me to say a few words that may not be evident from the papers before you. As it was mentioned by Rob, I am a lifelong resident of Plymouth. I was raised there, went to school there, and I'm now raising my family there. Secondly, throughout my employment, Plymouth Superior Court and the Plymouth District Court have always shared a building. They're in a new trial court facility now, but prior to that, they were in the same location in downtown Plymouth. These two facts have allowed me to gain a fundamental knowledge and understanding for the town of Plymouth and its surrounding community. I'm familiar with its strengths and its weaknesses. In addition, because of these facts, I know many of the employees of the Plymouth District Court and have had the privilege and opportunity to work with many of them, as well as many of the judges that sit in the Plymouth District, as well as the region. And further, having the benefit of beginning my career with the clerk's office in an entry-level position and working my way up the ranks, I believe I have a complete understanding of the importance that each and every employee plays in the running of the office. I believe that this knowledge enables me to be a strong leader and a fair and effective manager of personnel. I promise you that if confirmed, I will work to the best of my ability to create a positive and effective working atmosphere for the employees, the bar, and the public that use and rely on the court every day. Thank you once again, members of the Governor's Council, for providing me this opportunity to appear before you today to be heard for the confirmation for the position of Clerk Magistrate of the Plymouth District Court.
That was short, concise, and very good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Council Jumbo.
Well, I noticed that Mr. Creed probably taught you and your witnesses the law of brevity. It's so important to us here. We don't like people that go on and on and on and on, right?
That's right.
Except us. But I wanted to ask you, you've been around the courts for about 23, 24 years. And I asked this of a lot of the candidates recently. And have you ever heard of any secret courts in the Commonwealth?
Other than the article in the Globe, no.
So I've been around with my lawyer and other state service about 48 years. I've never heard of any secret courts. I go into clerk's hearings many, many times, and there's always a prosecutor, a police prosecutor, or sometimes a police and a district assistant district attorney. And there's a clerk sitting there, and a lawyer arguing on behalf of this client. And if the clerk does something the prosecutor or prosecuting police officer doesn't like, they can appeal it, right?
Yes.
So where's the secrecy? I don't seem to get that.
I haven't come across, I haven't seen that situation where it's,
Well, here's what kind of bothered me about the whole topic and the way it was presented by the Boston Globe. I think it was slanted, unfair journalism. I've been reading newspapers since I was a kid, and they've always been a white background with black lettering. This one, it was different. It was black background and white lettering. To make it appear sneaky or sinister or dark. And they had some drawings on that of like people kind of screaming or faces on them, whatever. And they said there were 62,000 clerks here before that article in the Commonwealth. 8 people said they thought they weren't treated fairly. 8 out of 62,000. Pretty good that average, isn't it?
I'd say so.
And if they took the time to inquire from people that would have given them a different perspective, like fathers of children or mothers of children who were brought into clerk's hearings, and the clerk said, I'm going to hold this for a year. No further problems, I won't issue. Some of those people today are in the court system. Some of them are flying jets for the Marines. Some of them are police officers and fire department personnel. They wouldn't be if the clerk didn't give them that chance. All right? So I say that to you because some clerks have expressed some sort of a concern about doing what they've done for years with an article. So I just ask you to take the article for what it's worth, and we don't change policy or procedure because some little spotlight team thinks it was something unjust happening.
Understood.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Jumbo. Council Devane.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your time. It was, as I said, it was a very rushed time. You just got your name Wednesday, and you're here now. And I think it's wonderful that your witnesses were able to make it today. And it was a little difficult trying to schedule meeting you because of the short time. And you had to meet with the JNC deputy who coaches everyone that comes through and meets with everybody. So I thank you because you also had to pick up your daughter who had a problem with her car. So it was a lot of things that, but I really appreciate the time. Now, I want to ask you, the Superior Court is different than the District Court.
Yeah, In part, yes.
Is it, yeah. So, I mean, how is it, I know it's different for judges, that they, for it to be a Superior Court judge than a district court. How is that different, being a clerk magistrate in the district court versus the Superior Court? I don't know the difference.
There are a lot of similarities with the responsibilities, but there are some different responsibilities that are bestowed on each department. In the district court, an additional responsibility of a clerk magistrate would be the issuance of search warrants, also conducting small claims, presiding over small claims trials or clerk's hearings, as well as over the weekend, a Jenkins hearing if someone's arrested and being held on bail. Those are some of the differences.
Well, when we met, and I mean it, I feel the clerk magistrate is the most important person in the court. I had an experience over 30 years that was horrible, and it was a political person who got the job, and he was rude and yelled and said a lot of things that I thought were so inappropriate. And so, thank God I haven't seen that, you know, sitting in your chair. But I just am very concerned about that, you know, demeanor, temperament, empathy. Empathy is so important. So let me ask you, if you were going to court today to do your daily job, tell me your daily job, what would you be doing?
My daily job sometimes begins before I get to work. If there's an issue with an employee, if they're sick, or if someone's going to be out arranging coverage, because I currently manage 2 offices, the Plymouth Division and the Brockton Division of the Superior Court. So sometimes bodies need to be shifted each day. So sometimes my day begins at 6:30 or 7 o'clock with a text message that so-and-so is going to be out. When I get to work, I make sure that we are all set for coverage for the judges in their sessions. And I'm generally fielding phone calls throughout the day from various things, whether it's criminal matters that need attention or civil matters that need attention. Talking to my boss occasionally about issues that need to arise. I'm in contact with the administrative office if there's things that need to be taken care of.
And you told me it's a pretty busy courthouse.
It is. We have 7 sessions currently between the 2 buildings.
Wow. And tell me now, the duties that you have, the responsibilities, how do you feel that makes you more qualified to take the position of a clerk magistrate?
Well, I currently have a lot of the duties and responsibilities as the first assistant that the clerk magistrate has. The one difference being that I'm not the ultimate decision maker where I currently am. There is someone above me, Mr. Creedon, that I will come to him with suggestions and advice as to what I think should be done, but the call is ultimately his. For the most part, I am doing the job now, just in a different department. Again, if I were to be confirmed, then the one difference would be that I would be that ultimate decision maker.
So is there a clerk magistrate now retiring?
The current clerk, well, the position is vacant. The clerk magistrate retired in July of 2017. There's been an acting clerk in place.
You know what, I was very surprised, because I'm not familiar with Plymouth, that the Superior Court and the District Court are in the same building.
Yes.
I don't see that in other towns and cities. Maybe there are others, but I haven't heard of that. That's interesting.
Yes, always have been as far back as I can remember.
Yeah. So if confirmed, you know the way. So what do you feel is the most important attribute to bring to this office?
I think some of the most important attributes that a clerk magistrate can have is an even temperament. I think communication, to be able to communicate effectively with the bar, with the public, with your employees, most importantly, are 2 of the most important attributes that a good clerk magistrate can have. I think you also need to have the knowledge of procedure and of law,
yeah, right,
but
right.
To be able to effectively communicate, I think, is one of the most important.
Right. Now, you applied before.
I did.
In the Patrick administration.
I did.
Did you get an interview? You did.
I did.
Yeah. And we talked about this, and there's 21 members that are appointed by the governor, and they have the awesome responsibility to choose who they're going to interview for clerk, magistrate, or judge. And they have much more authority than we councilors do. They choose the person to recommend to the governor, and then that person comes before us. So, you know, it's kind of muddy. People don't understand that procedure. People don't even know what we do, so that's another thing. But, you know, having said that, you know, about the procedure, it's very important that those 21 members are dedicated. Don't you believe that? Because they're
Yes.
going to choose who's going to be sitting in that chair, ultimately.
Yes.
How many were there? How many were there when they interviewed you? Out of 21?
There were 11. It was a split.
Okay, so there were 10, just think of it, 10 members vote, and I don't mean to pick you out, because sometimes someone's sitting there and they say, there's 6 people there, 8 members there. So to me, that's not acceptable, because these 21 members are charged to make a recommendation for a lifetime position. So you've got 11, 12, 13 of them that are voting for someone they never met, never saw, never spoke for. So that's not your responsibility, and I don't mean to put it on you, but it's wrong. And there used to be, years ago, a JNC chair, and he told the 21 members if they didn't go to the hearing, they were off. It's too important. It's too important. They're offended, that's why they walked out. But I have nothing to do with that, and my responsibility is to be here, to meet with you. I meet with everyone in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important to know the whole person, because I'm not voting for someone just on paper. And when I met you, I was impressed with your dedication, and it seemed to me that this seems the right progression for you to move up to this clerk magistrate. And I wonder, you know, how much influence through your life, seeing your father, and I've heard wonderful things about him, how did that affect you in wanting to work in the courthouse?
Well, I grew up seeing my father go to work every day, and it was impressive. But ultimately, I originally wanted to be a teacher, but that sort of fell through. And then I entered the court system, and I realized that I could make a difference. And but seeing seeing my father throughout my years growing up was very important.
So I know that I don't mean to put you on the spot, but there's a lot of judges that think a lot of you. And outside of your father, what judge do you have the most respect for that you have worked with?
There's several judges that I have the utmost respect for. Justice Gaziano,
He's the best.
who I had the privilege of working with for several years. Judge Locke, again, someone that both of them were my
So far,
regional.
I voted for both of them, so that's good. I actually voted twice for Judge on the SJC. And you know, he was the least person you would think that would get there, because he was very quiet, did his job, great judge, and that's the kind of person you want on the highest court, you know? We're really proud of that. And Jeff Locke, did you say?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he was great. I presided over his, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's several that I could go on and on
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
I've worked with Judge Chin since I've been a clerk. I've worked
And
with him
this
closely.
meeting, so you've had good mentors.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, right. So, you know, in talking with you for that time, and usually it's 4 hours, but we had to cut it short because of all the circumstances and the storm coming and every other thing. But I learned a lot about you as a person and family, and I can't separate someone's public life from personal life, because how you go day to day with your home family and your participation in your community too. You've been involved in a lot of different things. Are you still involved in that, coaching and things?
No, the youngest of my children no longer plays softball, so I'm no longer the designated coach for that. And my older daughter was the one that played soccer for several years, so I...
Well, I have to tell you... Aren't you the dance coach?
No dance coach.
I have 4 children. One of my sons graduated from BC, but he had his master's at UMass Amherst.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, he had a wonderful program. It was, it was the Senate President Bulger, who was the president at the time. And I'll tell you, for all that's said and done, they have a good education. And that's foreign to me. Like the world to go there. And also, you went to Bridgewater, and your daughter, and my granddaughter graduated 2 years ago from Bridgewater, and that's a wonderful university. Really, it's great. So little similarities there. But I'm very impressed. And as I said, and I've been redundant, but clerk magistrate, probably I'm the only council that has had a bad experience before a clerk magistrate, and I know how important it is. And the people who I have voted for are the best, and I'm so proud of them. I follow up, and I know that. And unfortunately, some slip through the cracks and don't get the opportunity. And I'm glad that you applied again, because sometimes someone's discouraged, and after they haven't got through the first time, and we've had wonderful judges that have come up the third time, and I said, thank you for pursuing, because you don't know that political one that jumped the line at that time. And even in your case, too. So I thank you, and really, there's not much I can ask you. I think we covered it all, and there's nothing that I would bring up that we haven't discussed. I'm just very pleased that you applied, and I'm very glad that the governor appointed you. So I thank you.
Thank you.
And thank the people that come in this bad weather, too.
Thank you, Councilor Devaney. Councilor Duff.
Thank you. I'm just glad we got number 71. When I read that, I was like, this has to be mistake.
It's nice. She actually reads it.
There was actually one other error in there too that I'm not going to point out because it's embarrassing probably, but not necessary. And I do want to apologize for getting up and leaving. My mother is 91 and she never, ever calls me. And she just called me twice to tell me that she doesn't have any heat in her house. But now she thinks she has heat, so I'll be dealing with that later on.
That's not a good birthday present.
Yes, you are eminently qualified for this position. One of the things I find about you, besides all, the wonderful things we've heard today, but that I personally think is really interesting about you, that probably brings a layer of texture or differentness to the job, is that you were so interested in becoming a teacher. And I think it sounds from what the folks have shared who know you, that you've taken those same skills and applied them to the court of the customer being first, the student being first, the customer service, the teaching, the learning, the holding people up instead of, putting them down. And it's a really hard job. I mean, we hear the unfortunate, bad experience of people more than we hear the good experience of people. I've dealt with court magistrates who've been fantastic. But, they deal, especially in the district courts, with everything. Any crazy thing you could possibly think of. And it does take a certain personality to do that with grace and kindness, and yet the judicial temperament. And we don't talk about that, I think, enough when we talk about our court magistrates, but you certainly exemplify it. And I rarely say this, but I will be very proud of you when your name comes before us. I really have no questions. Your application, our conversation, your home counselor, people in the community really hold you in high esteem in their life. And that says so much, and I agree with my colleague, Councilor Jim, we don't have secret courts in the state. We have a system that some people don't understand. It's an opportunity for us to do better. That's what it is. It's an opportunity for us to do some education with the public, and maybe you'll be part of that solution for folks to understand how that system works. And yeah, we're not perfect, you know, maybe there have been mistakes that we made, maybe there is some political ball that goes on in there. I mean, that is how it is in the world, whether in private industry or government. I mean, people can say all this inside baseball, but I've been in both industries, private and public, and let me tell you, there's a lot more inside baseball in private industry than there is in public industry. I mean, that's just the truth. People don't want to hear it. We run a tight ship in our courts, and you know that, and you've been able to work with it. I don't think the people who work in our judicial system, from the top to the bottom, get enough credit for that. You know, it's not, we hear the bad thing, we don't hear the good things sometimes. We don't hear about the extra mile that people go to help people. And it does make a difference, because you are the face of the Commonwealth for many people. And their experience will, you know, like Councilor Devaney had an unfortunate experience, that stays with you. And we don't want that to happen. We want it to go the other way. And know that, you know what, maybe the only time in their life that person is in a courtroom.
Okay.
It's a lot of pressure. So I think that experience of working with students prepared to be a teacher, I actually think that's very applicable in a way that we don't typically think about in BC. So I'm very satisfied with you that I think you're going to excel at this job. I do ask you, though, to Councilor Juvenile's point in question is, you know, you may be one of the people that can be part of the quote-unquote solution or the education of the public of what the clerk magistrates do. It's not a secret, but maybe it's an opportunity for us to do a little bit better and to do some education. That's how I like to look at things. You know, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. That's my mantra. You know, I don't want to live in the gloom and doom. All I have to do is look out the window for that. So anyway, thank you very much for applying. We need good people, and I appreciate that you put yourself forward for public service.
Thank you.
You say Councilor Kennedy for last because you did the longest. I think that was 3 hours worth of questions.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, the fact that your hearings are going so quickly says a lot about you too, because very often our hearings do go 2 or 3 hours. Those are your 3 kids?
Yes.
They're just looking for a pass on speeding tickets?
Actually, it looks like it's 4 children.
I got a call yesterday from Rob Krause, who, as you know, went down to Florida about 3 or 4 weeks ago and had a massive heart attack, and was stuck down there for a while. He got back over the weekend, and the first thing he did was call me and say, make sure you take care of Baler, he's a good guy. And Rob was my law school roommate. I was the best man at his wedding. He's a very, very close friend. So that says a lot that the first thing he did when he got back here was call me about you after all that. I also got a call from Bob Ruffo, Judge Ruffo, who has some very nice things to say about you. Yeah, I had a few other, Joe Keller called me, and a few other people that had a lot of great things to say, that you were very user-friendly clerk in the Superior Court. And that's important, to lawyers especially, but to the public as well. Clerks, if I didn't have user-friendly clerks all over the place, I wouldn't be here right now because I'd be too busy. They didn't help me out with things. So that's critical. And everybody, I got a lot of calls, and everybody had very, very good things to say about you. You have a great reputation. I actually appeared in front of your dad many, many years ago. He wouldn't give me that quaff, I bet he did not. But I used to get that one as well. But I'm going to vote for you next in 2 weeks. We're not meeting next week, but in 2 weeks. So I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Kennedy. So you and I spent some time together the other day. I appreciate your time. And I go back with your dad. He doesn't remember me, but 92, 93 as a law clerk at Superior Court.
On the 11th floor.
On the 11th floor. And your dad was well respected, both as an administrator in the court and then as a judge. I never heard a bad word about him or you, which speaks volumes when you're in this business. So I do have a letter. I'm not going to read it into the record, but I'm going to put it in the record by mentioning it from Judge Locke. I also have another letter from Judge Rufo saying outstanding claims budget. I can count to 5 easily. I'm sure you're going to be getting the vote next week. And I look forward to you having a great career. And I thank you for applying. Thank you for your service. This hearing is ended.
Thank you.
Good? Yes, couldn't be better.
I did, yeah.
We're shopping this weekend.
You said you're the son of the layer instead of the
No, that's good though, and it's, you read it, but I guess you just...
You can't see it. You can't see it, and you need some... I was an editor my first job out of college. You wouldn't know now. I can't edit my own stuff. You know, like you read it, but it's funny because...
What do you want? So that...
I thought it was upside down. But I have a... it doesn't apply to me. I was going to say, I have a thing for home grandmother too. Now I'm starting to hear all these pastors, and my ears literally...
That's the one thing, remember, when I was growing up, your grammar, when you speak,
When people say these ones, it's not these ones, it's these. It's just maddening. But anyway, and I really mean that about this. You know, I think we need to take these lessons when we get whacked, and instead of saying, you know, F them, they don't know what they're talking about, say, what can we do to make it a little bit better? No, what can we do to make people understand it? Because people is baseball. That's how it is. But I also feel obligated because I spent most of my career in the public industry and private industry to say to people, if you don't think it's there, I mean, the way you get a job is, who do you know? That's how you get a job. And I tell kids when they're applying for jobs, go, you have an information interview with somebody and you ask them for 5 more names. You know, you're going to hit it sooner or later. Anyway, good for you. You don't want to teach?
I called, you know what, I still technically have my teachers. Because I never started teaching. You hurt my feelings. The time doesn't run for me to have to get my master's. I put a year in towards my master's.
Well, maybe we'll take you around with us, you know. I mean, we do our little road shows, sometimes not everybody, but I think it would be interesting, you know, you're not in my district, but I'm going to be bringing some judges to some high schools. But a clerk magistrate might be interesting.
You have my information?
Did you go to school?
I was the last Plymouth. So, my wife, believe it or not, is actually 2 years older.
So you public school?
Yes.
I think it's, I mean, I went to public school. I went to public schools and prep schools. I mean, I have all the, I get it all. But I think it's really important for public school kids to see measure of success. Okay, once they understand
Right.
so this is what this is. It's not about fixing the speed ticket. It's about, you know, other things. So anyway, I want to say hi to these folks. You were fabulous. That's really this subject.
What you takes it out.
26 years.
I can name like 3 of the buildings. It really is obsession. It's like a sexual job.
Right.
Yeah, but the bonus of that's a good way to and I didn't mean to belabor it, but I know what that was that day. He told me I was wrong. When he was a Dixon Doles, and he was political, and those were questions. This is 34 years ago.
And then all vote yes. 2 no.
was just, and then she gives her sister me and his sister, you know, it's really, I've never had anything like
acted
this.
as a
Oh, did you know she
They don't do it.
That's why I've been, and
So they
she
changed the
did love,
Constitution.
but there's nothing I can do about it. So they walked out when I said, because
The way it's allowed, you kind of government there.
It doesn't go with your excited, but no, I'm happy.
That's all your application.
I've asked them to sell. And, but you know, I'm not to listen to every council, that's.
20 years ago, yeah.
I'm sitting here and hearing and he's telling me, it's hard, we should hear every voice and hear his reasons. Yeah, but anyway, the thing is, he's being made, so that's a good thing. He's a good guy. Yeah. But the people that I talked to and the judges and everybody, Oh, great. I better talk with him.
I have twice more than
You have 4 years.
No, I'm actually,
Yes.
Thank you, Chad.
Yes.
Member,